Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Weekend Recap, where we bring you the good, the bad, and the latest inside news when it comes to Monday Night Raw, NXT, AEW Dynamite, Impact Wrestling, and Friday Night SmackDown. The one and only Jade, and I am Ace X, and we are here to give you our infamous disclaimer, which is as follows. Everything that we say and state is strictly our opinion, and it does not necessarily reflect the views of the platform that we're on or the wrestling companies that we talk about. And now, don't have a cow, man. So we start off with the main headline of this past week, because yes, it technically is a Sunday going into Monday, and it's a whole fresh new week. So we're going to revolve everything that happened last week. The biggest headline that made this past week is the fact that Tommy End, now known as Malachi Black, debuted in AEW Dynamite. So you might be wondering, how in the hell did that happen? Well, the only way how is the fact that, let's see. WWE forgot to update his freaking contract. So, yeah, way to go, Stamford, Connecticut. Shoot yourselves in the foot with an extra bullet, if you don't mind. So the thing of it is that, yes, WWE forgot to update Tommy End's contract, where there would be a 30-day no-compete clause, or even a 90-day no-compete clause. And if I remember the info correctly, there had to be at least a 30-day no-compete clause, or maybe even longer. So, yeah, once he got released, if we time it right, 30 days have passed, and we got to see Tommy End do his Malachi Black character. Now, as far as the Malachi Black character is concerned, Jade, I'm going to send you the leak once we get off the air, because you got to see the vignette that set the transition from the Aleister Black character, where he was pretty much jailed in a psychiatric ward. At least that's what the view looks like to me. Setting in motion to what became the beginning of Malachi Black, and how if I would have saw that vignette just a day earlier, then the signs would have pointed out to what led to his debut in AEW Dynamite and what the signals were. And the signals were, yes, the power outage happened twice, and that's what happened also during the vignette, and that's what shown the birth of Malachi Black. So was it a genius move to capitalize on? Yes, of course, because if Tommy End had all of this in motion precisely once he exited from WWE and now having to fall into the AEW platform, then it all worked out beautifully for him. And just as interesting as it arose, I hope it don't dissipate for anything. This is really a good start yet for the Malachi Black character in AEW Dynamite, and I hopefully wish we get to see more. And yes, we will recap that unforgettable debut that he just had this past Wednesday. So let's start out with Monday Night Raw. Unfortunately, I really can't say that much, except that once again they have plummeted to an all-new low rating, and there's really not that much of highlights that we should talk about, except for the fact that the main event that was supposed to be Xavier Woods going up against Bobby Lashley, it actually turned out into a tag team match. So the New Day ended up going against MVP and the almighty champion himself. And we are going to go into that audio bit in just a second. But yeah, unfortunately, that was another Raw episode that kind of went down the drain. And if WWE is really looking into want to, reattract the crowd for something major, they got to get to work like now. Because from what I understand, tomorrow night will be the last episode of Raw in the Thunderdome era, and they will go on to a live crowd. But also, this Friday coming up, that's going to be the first SmackDown of where they bring the crowds yet again, leading, of course, into Money in the Bank. And we're going to do we will do the rundown when we get back next Saturday. And that will be also in part of a live crowd for Money in the Bank, leading to a whole new Raw, the aftermath of Money in the Bank, also with a live crowd. And all that will be in Texas, I believe.
Yes.
So, yeah, Raw isn't looking all that good. How they want to finish it for the Thunderdome era, SmackDown, they finished it decent. So, unless they want to plummet a whole new low, that way they can score high once the crowd comes back, then yeah, y'all better work on something really good in order to have the whole WWE universe be in wow and shock and awe and all that stuff. But the way things were looking this past Monday, obviously it didn't went in that specific direction. So now we are going to jump into that main event. If I can get into that audio bit. All right. And obviously it's not a lot. It's only just a 3-minute audio bit. And here we go.
Don't stop fighting. Delivers a jawbreaker. Desperately needs to make the tag to Kofi Kingston. He's got to get through MVP to do it. Oh! Able to push up and gets a tag to Kofi Kingston. Immediately airborne. Oh my God! Almost the entire way across the ring. Kofi is amazing. Giving Bobby Lashley a taste as well. Quick body shot stops Kingston in a moment. No. Okay, on the leg on his feet. Lift Kofi Kingston at your own risk. Now lift to the leg, shoulders down. Can't quite get it done. That kick right on the chin of MVP. Another shot to Lashley. That is confidence. Oh, that was class. There it is. Mopping MVP. Why not? Have a little fun. Let me spend some MVP. Incredibly sweet victory for MVP and Lashley. To knock off Kingston, it could shatter the confidence of Kofi Kingston in the lead up to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. We talked about the intensity of Bobby Lashley, the craftiness of MVP, but Kofi Kingston has shown his own intensity under duress. And right now, they're trying to lay it out of him. Big kick. It's gotta be a lift to the leg. Xavier Woods just in time. And big awareness that it's minus for Xavier Woods. There goes Woods. Making sure right now that Kofi Kingston is all alone, facing Bobby Lashley and MVP. Oh, trouble in paradise. The champion is down. And now Kofi Kingston has MVP on himself. Up the stairs. Woods just sacrificing himself to keep Bobby Lashley down on the outside. MVP, meanwhile, doing work on Kingston. Here it comes. Playmaker. Oh. Change the play. Trouble in paradise with the escape. He's on top, shoulders down. That's it. Talk about a major strategic miscalculation on the part of Lashley and MVP. They wanted this match and failed to deliver. They wanted an enraged Bobby Lashley. They have it now. That's exactly what Kofi Kingston's going to have to deal with in 2 weeks. Streaming live on the WWE Network on Peacock. An enraged, almighty WWE champion. That's 2 weeks away.
Obviously, the so-called Almighty Champion did not look almighty. Once again, he looked like a man with egg on his face. And MVP already stated it for the record that he was not 100%, and he showed that he wasn't 100%, but that, he wanted to be, in the game, in the trenches with the Almighty One. Of course, he wasn't going to say no, so obviously he gave it everything that he had to the credit of MVP, but obviously it wasn't enough, so the New Day actually pulled one smart move in order to gain some momentum, as they're just only technically now 1 week away from Money in the Bank, which will be already next Sunday on Peacock, and of course everywhere else on WWE Network.
The other thing I have to say is that pretty much Kofi is doing everything he can to get under the skin of the Almighty Champion, and so far he has succeeded last Monday in that tag match. But tomorrow pretty much will be, now that the Almighty Champion has to go one-on-one with Xavier Woods, and pretty much saying if Xavier manages to beat the Almighty Champion one-on-one, people are going to question, will the Almighty Champion be ready for Money in the Bank? Will Kofi Kingston get the best of him next Sunday? But now the bigger question will also be, whoever wins Money in the Bank, provided the Almighty Champion retains, could this person be the one gunning for the Almighty Champion, possibly in the near future?
And we understand that also Kofi Kingston will be the number one contender to the Almighty One and his championship, as he will defend it yet again. But this time it'll happen at Money in the Bank. Kofi Kingston, Bobby Lashley, the WWE title will be on the line. Could this be the moment that Kofi Kingston, a former WWE champion himself, will get that championship back and defeat the Almighty One once and for all? He was that close. Well, actually, he already had a win against the Almighty One. Can now this match be the definite, as we are just 1 week away, which will happen next Sunday on Peacock and everywhere else on WWE Network. We move on to NXT. Of course, they had this past Tuesday another edition of the Great American Bash. This one was something that I was definitely looking forward to, and I was not disappointed. The card itself was just great. A lot of things have happened. There were some great matchups. We witnessed Ciampa and Thatcher going up against none other than MSK, and it was also for the tag team titles. They had a great back and forth, great physical action from all four of these guys. Ciampa and Thatcher were definitely showing why they were the worthy number one contenders, and how they were almost close, but a lot of pretty much near falls, and MSK broke up the majority of those close 3 counts where Ciampa and Thatcher were just almost close to becoming the new NXT Tag Team Champions, but MSK deservingly showing the world why they are the best of the best in the tag team division of NXT right now. Also, the women's division is also showing their stuff as well. They're showing a lot of great action, especially when it came to the way as they were defending their NXT women's titles, going up against Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. Great back and forth action with all 4 of those women. We got to witness the return, and of course the vignettes, how it was almost fully charged, and the one that was fully charged has officially returned. That was none other than Tegan Knox, she returned to settle unfinished business with Candice LeRae because it was, of course, Candice LeRae that put Tegan Knox on the shelf for almost close to a year. But Tegan Knox worked hard, busted herself to rehabilitate and come back as soon as she did, and finally made her return precisely at the Great American Bash. We saw a successful $1 Million Championship rematch between LA Knight and, of course, Cameron Grimes, with a special stipulation that if Cameron Grimes loses, he would become LA Knight's butler. In other words, he is pretty much the next Virgil to LA Knight. Well, the next Virgil to the $1 Million Man, but in this case, it's LA Knight who's holding the $1 Million Championship, still retaining the title, and Cameron Grimes, unfortunately, becomes the new Virgil. Oh, my goodness. Next, Hit Row showed their talented rap performance in the ring. They're showing why they're the bastardizing Death Row Records type of talent that they are. But nonetheless, Hit Row put on some mean rhymes and just some really doped out lyrics. You know, hats off to them. They're showing why they're the stuff. Also, we're gonna get into this one and talk about. Also, before that, starting next week, we're gonna see a match or two of the NXT Breakout Tournament, and they have already mentioned at least 8 players in this game. So we already seen a few of them in NXT perform. Can't wait to see the others. We already got some give and takes of who could be the breakout star in this breakout tournament. There's going to be 1 or 2 matches coming up this Tuesday on NXT, and we can't wait to see how this is all going to pan out. So we're going to get into this one story where next week, of course, on NXT, I'm still feeling it's Saturday, but it's technically Sunday, so technically this Tuesday, NXT, we will be seeing the main event of the NXT being defended, as Karrion Kross will go against the number 1 contender, Johnny Gargano. And we are going to get into the audio clippings of how this whole thing went down and what added and what was the addition of a special stipulation for this match, which I think will be deemingly fair yet exciting. So let's get into this clip right now.
We've all seen how Johnny Gargano has antagonized Karrion Kross, and after the confrontations last week, it's obvious that things aren't going to turn out well, and I need to address that. So, I demand that both Karrion Kross and Johnny Gargano come to the ring right now, please. There is Johnny Gargano, who on social media this week said, no tricks, no games, no smoke, no mirrors. I'll be at the Great American Bash. Meet me face to face. A message he sent to the NXT champions. There is the NXT champion who has not minced words when it has come to Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano also very lucky that Samoa Joe was nearby just last week. Gentlemen, I brought you here because things between the two of you need to be settled. You said I was antagonizing him? Well, let's get the formalities out of the way. You suck!
He just loves to egg him on. Oh, he loves to egg him on. That's already been for weeks.
I've been living rent-free in your head for weeks, and there's a lot of room in there. I've been living like a king. over, you realize you are not in my league. That is why you tried to hit me with a car last week. Because you are terrified to get in this ring with me. Because you know I will expose you. Gentlemen, I cannot in good consciousness let this keep going on. So next week, it will be Johnny Gargano versus Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship. Hey, hold on a minute. You think I'm afraid of you? Yeah, I do. They do too. Hey, I didn't try to run you over with a car last week. You almost got yourself run over because you were in the way.
What a pun.
Size isn't the only advantage I have over you. I also have stronger convictions. Give an example. Every morning when I get up, same 3 things on my mind. Never lose the NXT Championship. One day, main event WrestleMania. And one day, become WWE Champion. And now, what do you do in the morning, Johnny? You put on a pair of your wife's jeans? Hey, I know you think you're going to do all these cool technical moves to me, and you really believe you're going to win this match? But guess what? This ain't some cartoon movie. It's not a comic book. This is real life. And in real life, Mr. Gargano, people like you get the living daylights beaten out of them by people like me. And that's just the way it really is. Next week will be no different. To ensure that everything goes accordingly next week, there will be a special guest referee. Samoa Joe.
Oh.
Yeah! Joe. Yeah, I love it. That's great. I'll see you next week. Love it. And actually, Cross, it's funny you mentioned my wife's pants, considering you couldn't lace my wife's boots. You know, why wait till next week?
Oh. Well, it looks like things are cooking up. Samoa Joe is added as the special guest referee for this special main event coming up this Tuesday on NXT, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on USA. Jade Karrion Kross will be defending his NXT title against a very confident and very, very, just filled with so much positive momentum because he knew how to play that game on being in the man's head, and I'm talking about the leader of the way, Johnny Gargano.
Ever since he defeated Finn Balor for the NXT Championship, Karrion Kross has pretty much been ran the quest momentum. He's been pretty much defying all comers, but pretty much for what we're seeing lately, Johnny Gargano is on a quest to regain the NXT Championship. Can he do it this Tuesday and with Samoa Joe as a special guest referee? He's got a long way to go. I mean, Johnny has dealt with several opponents, including former partner Tommaso Ciampa, but Karrion Kross is definitely not a walk in the park. But we'll see what will happen this Tuesday on NXT.
The main event, NXT Championship, Karrion Kross will defend against the number one contender, Johnny Gargano. Don't miss it. I believe that will be one of the finest matchups in Johnny Gargano's career. Could he definitely have his way with Karrion Kross? Tune in this Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, only on USA. Now we move on to AEW Dynamite. AEW is the first company that has got the crowd. Boy, did they rise to the occasion Road Rager took place this past Wednesday in Miami, Florida, and boy, couldn't Miami, they lived it up to the max. They let their voices be heard, and my God, the chance that they have been making Wednesday night was of so many that were missed during the pandemic era, and when the AEW roster was doing their thing at Daily's Place for so many months now. Now that they're back on the road, now that they got the crowd back, and now that we are definitely moving on to better things and better sceneries. Before we even get started with AEW Dynamite, I want to point out to the fact that even though we're in Chicago and we know that freaking All Out is going to be coming September 5th, boy, did I try my hardest, and boy, did I try my freaking hardest to acquire tickets and explain to me how is it that I tried everything within my power to be 20 minutes early on the freaking app to find out that there is 500 and something people before me, and I end up for almost an hour only to know that there is no freaking tickets available for All Out. Yet there's plenty for Dynamite. There's plenty for Rampage. But I'm not even interested in those two shows for now. I'm interested in All Out. And all of you Chicago SOBs took that dream away from me. And him. But I hope that there's a second batch of tickets coming up. Because otherwise I'm going to be such a pissed fan that we're going to get shut out of the third All Out in succession. So right now I am stating that I have no love for AEW and Ticketmaster for now. But I hope that changes in a matter of weeks. I hope it changes. Boy, do I hope it changes. Nonetheless, let's continue with Road Rager. Of course, a successful show. It was one of the best that we've ever seen. Boy, that they had some amazing matches, and these guys could have not raised the stakes for such energetic reaction from the Miami fans. It was like a breath of fresh air, literally, to see some best promos, seeing some of the best matches. I mean, we could highlight almost every single thing that took place on the card, but obviously the only thing that we can do is highlight number two verbally is the fact of the matter that on the main event, obviously the Young Bucks, they took on the team of Pentagon Jr. and Eddie Kingston. Yes. My God, that match couldn't have went any crazier than it has. And here we thought that Pentagon and Eddie Kingston had the upper hand in this one. We thought that they were going to win it. But once again, those dastardly old school Young Bucks, they did it again, and they showed the world why they are the best of the best. And obviously the tag titles were on the line, yet they did it again to retain it with the help of the Good Brothers, the elite of the elite, obviously covering the elite ass to keep those belts in their camp. That was one of the highlights that we want to throw in there. Promo-wise, MJF and Chris Jericho, they did it again, but now there's going to be some sort of a challenge that MJF thought of after something that Chris Jericho has done in the past, where he did it with Moxley having to go through members of the Inner Circle. Now, from what I'm hearing, it could be something similar, or it could be with members of the Pinnacle, but supposedly MJF has something really devious planned for Jericho in order to get a match, another and maybe final match with MJF one-on-one. I guess we're going to have to see coming up for the next event, which is Fyter Fest this Wednesday, night one, of course. And we'll see and maybe hear more information on that fact. Also, another highlight that took place promo-wise, we got to hear the Jackal of Jackasses, Don Callis, come out with his boy, wannabe Triple H, Kenny Omega, looking like Lemmy from Motorhead. God rest his soul. He rocks still up in the heavens. Having to speak out his piece, saying that there is no one left to fight. And then, of course, Evil Uno comes in and says, why do you dare ignore our boy and our associate? Hangman Page, he is number one in the ranks. And, of course, he comes up with some trivia and says, what is the capital of Thailand? Oh, we're going to play trivia. It's Bangkok, bitch. And then, of course, that brought in the rest of the Dark Order. And finally, we get to see some real cowboy shit from Hangman Adam Page. Of course, these two guys. And that's what I wanted to come to, because we said this on Wednesday. It's like, if this is going to happen for All Out, here we resume something that took place, I think about a year or two ago, and now we're going to see it again. And even if I pray that we get to see it live, I pray that we get to see it live, damn it. I pray that we get to see it live. But if we don't, at least we get to see it from our TV screen. It's like we're resuming back to a picture that could have been and would have been and should have been, but now we're going to get to see it at this present time. Hangman Adam Page, Kenny Omega, the AEW World Title on the line. I believe it's going to happen. We're already seeing it leading there. It's going to go there. It's going to get there, and everybody in this city is going to be blowing that roof on fire. They're going to blow it off, and then all that fire is going to keep on burning because we got some really good action in the ring. Nonetheless, that's another highlight. But the main highlight that we talk about at the top of this episode is the debut of Malachi Black. He showed up in the ring. Of course, at the top of the show, we got to see some sort of a temporary blackout, which was the sign that has to do with the debut of Malachi Black, because we got to see it once Tony Schiavone and Arn Anderson were inside of the ring along with Cody. And we're going to get into that audio clip right now. Like I stated before, this couldn't have happened in a really good way for Malachi Black. Let's listen to it.
Holding the microphone for the enforcer, Arn Anderson. Let me say, after Cody's win to start out the program with the win by Brock in his debut, life is good for you, sir, head coach. Good God Almighty, is it great to be in Miami tonight? Damn right it is. We have missed all of y'all. So I guess let's just get right to it.
There's a second blackout.
I'm bad weather coming away out of South Florida. Apologize for the technical issues.
Hopefully it is technical issues, but it's not.
The lights are out, as we can all see. And one thing, oh my God, Rudy, what a kick right to Arn Anderson's face.
Cody wasn't even there yet. Okay, now we got him.
That is a man that I wrestled 15 years ago in Dusseldorf, Germany. That is Tommy End. But that man standing in the ring, that is not Tommy End. Oh my God! And then street shoe on right in the face of Cody. Tommy End, or whatever he's going to be called. That is Malachi Black. Oh my God. And he has just taken out Arn Anderson and Cody Rhodes. The eyes of a trained killer, if you ask me. A shocking debut. I had no earthly idea this man was even. He just disappeared. Clearly, Arn Anderson, Cody Rhodes had no idea either. Malachi Black has arrived in AEW. And Malachi Black, no doubt, will have an agenda. A violent, aggressive agenda. And we have to restore order. We'll be right back, everyone.
Of course, the crowd already knew and was already building the anticipation of Tommy Yen, or like we stated, Malachi Black to debut in AEW Dynamite. I mean, if you heard the reception that he got once the lights went back on, and it was a pop. It was a pop like you never thought you would ever hear for somebody, especially for Malachi Black. Like how I stated before, if you guys haven't seen that vignette that showed the transition of Aleister Black morphing into Malachi Black, you gotta find it on YouTube. You gotta check it out. It's on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure it's still there because I've just seen it a few days ago after the fact that Malachi Black debuted. So it's like, if I would have caught it a day earlier, then just following that timeline, it makes completely sense of how Malachi Black comes to fruition. So, like I said, once we get off the air, I'm going to show you that vignette. You are not going to believe how it was done. I mean, the acting scene and the people involved during that whole process. I mean, they just made it. They made it so much sense out of this thing, and it's like the story is just good enough to be invested in, big time. So that was obviously the highlight of AEW Dynamite. We got Fyter Fest going on, and Jade, we are gonna go into the quick rundown. We're not gonna get into predictions, obviously, because we're under time constraints. But nonetheless, Fyter Fest is gonna happen already this Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on TNT. And let's go into the rundown of the matches that we are going to be able to see this Wednesday.
Yes, this Wednesday at Fyter Fest, which will culminate from the Austin area in Texas, for the record. One of the matches confirmed as one of the matches that pretty much people can't wait to see, that I can't wait to see, would be All Ego Ethan Page versus Darby Allin in a coffin match.
Can't wait to see that one either.
Yes.
I want Darby to win. I know we're not doing predictions, but I want Darby to win, damn it.
Yes, okay. We'll see what happens. Okay. But nonetheless, okay. We got Absolute Ricky Starks versus The Machine Brian Cage for the FTW title.
And that one has been brewing already for months. Brian Cage, obviously wanted to do things his way, even though he's a part of Team Taz, but having to see Ricky Starks being at the opposite end of, wanting to do the things that Taz instructed him to do, Brian Cage just wasn't going to have it. He got upset. He's already beyond upset. Now he wants to settle the score with Ricky Starks and the FTW championship already on the line in this battle between two guys part of Team Taz.
Yes. We got Christian Cage versus Big Money Matt.
These two men have had so much history back when they were part of their own teams. Christian tagging with Edge, Matt Hardy, of course, with his brother Jeff, part of the Hardy Boys. These two teams, along with the Dudley Boys, revolutionized tag team wrestling in the Attitude Era, and they became at least the top 3-tier tag teams. They were kings of that tag team era back in the Attitude Era. These guys were some of the best, and just having to see these two guys get at each other's throats one-on-one, that only bring back memories of how things were back then and how, they are just moving forward with something new, refreshable, yet it's but in the time of 2021. Can't wait to see who is going to win out of these two future Hall of Famers.
We got a women's match also on the card. We got Penelope Ford versus Yuka Sakazaki.
Now, that match is going to be an interesting one. We've seen Penelope Ford having to rise up in the women's ranks. Yuka Sakazaki, we haven't seen much of, but we know of that woman's ability. Obviously, she's wrestled in Japan. She is one of the best ever seen, and I think Penelope Ford has got her work cut out for her. So she really needs to come up with a strategy in order to defeat this Japanese female wrestler.
And the main event for the first half of Fyter Fest, then it will be for the New Japan United States Championship. It'll be Jon Moxley versus one half of the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson.
Daddy-O is coming back. He is gonna defend that IWGP United States title with so much pride and so much devotion. Moxley has already been holding it during the pandemic era, even before the pandemic era. Moxley is one of a kind. He is a fighting champion. He will defend that title tooth and nail. Doesn't matter where, any part of the world. Doesn't matter if it's in Japan, in the United States. He will go to above and beyond in order to keep that title with him. Carl Anderson, obviously, no stranger at all to New Japan Pro Wrestling. One of the key members of Bullet Club and the Elite. And these men are going to get it on, but I also have to have it in the front of my mind that Luke Gallows is not that far away. Doc Gallows is not that far away. Don Callis is not that far away. Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion, is not that far away. They can get into this match and ruin what could be an excitable one-on-one collision between these two guys. The United States title on the line. It is going to be one hell of a match to watch and to be excited for, and just to have a tub of popcorn and maybe a pop bottle just to enjoy that view. It's going to be a hell of a fight. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like we were given the rundown and we're just going to say goodbye, but no, that's not the case. Fyter Fest this Wednesday on AEW, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, only on TNT. Don't miss out. And now we move on to Impact Wrestling. Of course, another decent show. Of course, when you think about Impact Wrestling and Slammiversary is just around the corner, you got to think of the main event, which, of course, yes, it involves Mr. Belt Collector, Kenny Omega. Also, him being AEW World Champion. He's also the Impact World Champion. He will be defending that Impact World Championship against the number one contender, Sami Callihan. And Sami Callihan, my God, an explosive figure in the Impact roster. And he is willing to go at all costs, doesn't matter how, to get back what belongs to Impact Wrestling, and that it's its own World Championship. Now, we have seen a lot of things during this episode of Impact Wrestling. We've seen Deonna Purrazzo wondering if she's going to have a match at Slammiversary. The return of Gail Kim into the ring. She's still retired. That doesn't mean she's coming back to wrestle. No. But she's there to let her know that she's got a mystery opponent set for the current Knockouts champion, and she will meet that opponent at Slammiversary. Of course, W. Morrissey had a 3-on-1 handicap match to show the world that he will take on all comers. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how strong or puny you are, he will burn you down to the ground. And a lot of other things took place. I saw finally how Rachel Ellering and the former Knockouts champion Jordan Grace finally we're on the same page, because this is something that Jazz have been wanting for such a long time. And I think they want to get back the Knockouts tag team titles, because they only had it for just a little bit. And I wanted to see these two women have a run with those titles, because I think they deserve it. And can't wait for them to actually get those titles back. But obviously there's one that has been wanting to get a shot, and that's Rosemary and Havoc, and I've seen them pair up once again, because I understood they paired up in the past. They obviously had a fallout. Now they're, for things of destiny or that nature, now they're back on the same page. They're back as a team, and they want to get a shot at the Knockouts tag team titles. So I can't wait to see that happen as well. But we are going to go to the out of those highlights, we're going to go to the main highlight that matters, and it's the fact that Sami Callihan came out to the ring, and he called out the Impact World Champion Kenny Omega. Did he got him, or he didn't got him, or did he really got him? So let's get into that. As Kenny Omega and Don Callis already in the ring.
Only one person showed up. Well, the most important person is here. It appears that your friend Sami Callihan has been arrested. Justifiably so, because you can't just go around, Kenny, attacking people. You can't just go around assaulting people. I was assaulted. I'm a victim. So I can, yes, we got a little problem. We got a champion. We don't have a challenger, because that's my understanding. And Sami Callihan has not one strike, not two strikes. He has 7 strikes. And today was number 8.
Now, before we continue, let me just throw this in. Of course, earlier in that episode, Don Callis decided to play the the victim of circumstance, when he said that he was attacked by Sami Callihan either the previous week or even before Impact started. And from what we saw, that bogus footage, that was never Sami Callihan. That could have been somebody else. From what you predicted and from what it looks like to me, just by analyzing really true, it looked like Carl Anderson playing Sami Callihan, to be honest. I mean, the guy's back was to the camera, and obviously, it was showing that Don Callis got decked. But no hard proof that it was Sami Callihan. So what happened was Sami Callihan, they got arrested. It was a warrant. They took him to the precinct. And now, to the present time in this timeline for this contract signing, the champ is there. Don Callis is there. Scott D'Amore is there. But there's no Sami Callihan. So let's see what happens after this.
So Sami Callihan may not be here, but Kenny Omega, the world champion, the God of pro wrestling, is. So why don't we, Scott, get this party started with the money? The money's here. Let's get the party started.
And he doesn't have that Lemmy look anymore.
Hey guys, just humor me. Things seem a little odd. Sami doesn't like to be clandestine with his attacks, but look, it'll all play out. We've got 9 days. So folks, right here, we take a look at this. Big print for you, too. No, those eyes aren't great. Well, Mr. Barry already vetted this. We're fine. All the clauses you asked for are in there. Appreciate this. Oh, of course. Took out the green ones for you. Thank you very much. Beautiful signature, Kenny. Good job. Appreciate it. Good champ. Good looking.
Guess who?
That's not you. Come on, Steve. I can fix all of this for you. I can fix it.
That was who?
Someone has doctored the footage.
Wow.
That's the footage of Callahan attacking him.
Oh. I guess he's about to feel the real thing by the real Sami Callihan. Oh. Oh, but he should have turned his back on Omega.
And now these two, they're going at it. The Slammiversary main event. Champion and challenger. Hunks and hijinks aside from Gun Palace. The champion has the challenger now. Yeah, Callis set up Sami Callihan. He framed him. Omega was Callahan and Sami Callihan with a low blow.
Well, that was good. That was good.
Omega's brains. Uh-oh. Look at him staring.
It's for you, Don.
At Don Callis.
Holy! It's for you, Donnie. That was for you, Donnie.
And now he's going to sign a contract. It's going to be official in just a second. After the pile driver. Matthew's pile driver. And Callahan makes it official. Wow. The main event for Slammiversary is set. Oh, Callahan's not done. Callahan's not done. Kenny Omega.
Oh.
Kenny Omega has stepped into the ring with the best wrestlers in the world. Kenny Omega has gone to battle with everybody across this globe. Kenny Omega has never stepped inside the ring with a sick son of a bitch like Sami Callihan. The most unpredictable soul in all of Impact Wrestling just staked his claim to the Impact World Championship. Callis tried to have Callahan arrested. It was a hoax. It was a ploy. The world champion's been put through a table. And what's going to happen in 9 nights? What's going to happen at Slammiversary? Is Sami Callihan truly the hero that Impact Wrestling needs at Slammiversary?
Saturday, July 17th. So, Slammiversary's first, right?
Yes.
Minutes for the event?
Yes.
Wow. This is one event that I am not going to miss out. So, I will order this on pay-per-view. Yes, and it's only available on pay-per-view. It's not available on Impact Plus. This is one of their yearly big events for Impact Wrestling. So, this is one that I suggest you should not miss out. If you are a Kenny Omega fan, you should not miss out on this. If you're a Sami Callihan fan, you shouldn't miss out. Unless if you're just a straight up AEW fan or Impact Wrestling fan and you want to check it out, I suggest you do check it out. I mean, it's worth the money. Come on, you got the craziest main event that you can see ever in history for Slammiversary. Sami Callihan is the number one contender to Kenny Omega's Impact World Championship, and I believe that Sami is in the frame of mind that he is willing to do anything and everything to make sure that that championship is not around Mr. Belt Collector's waist and will bring it back home to Impact Wrestling. So yes, Saturday, July 17th, only on pay-per-view, and my goodness, it's just almost around that corner. Just almost around that corner. Can't wait for that to go down. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, Friday Night SmackDown, the final Thunderdome era episode to Friday Night SmackDown, because this Friday, the first WWE show that will have a live crowd yet again before Money in the Bank pay-per-view, of course, which will be seen on Peacock and everywhere else on WWE Network It was another decent show. But I still believe remain not as strong, but just a tad low, but still was retaining its position. That was the storyline with, of course, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. And now we finally got to see the family together. Now we finally got to see Jimmy and Jay, the Usos, back where they belong with the tribal chief. And they're going to be the strongest family ever. Now, even though this one could have made it to the top headlines of this past week, but yes, it is stated that Jimmy Uso unfortunately had another DUI episode that took place on a Monday, which was this past Monday, did a 50 miles per hour on a 35 speed limit, whether it be street or whatnot, but he over exceeded the speed limit, and on top of that, obviously he drank, then has another infraction. The last infraction, obviously, he suffered it the previous year. WWE at this point is not going to act on it until they're ready, because they want to make sure that the tapings for SmackDown are out of the way. And then and only then, I'm pretty sure that Jimmy Uso yet again is going to pay another penalty under WWE. Could get suspended. Maybe could get released. We don't know of anything. There's nothing that has been speculated at this point. But that news broke out, obviously, around Tuesday, Wednesday. I could be wrong. Anywhere around in the middle of the week. But it was just disappointing to hear that Jimmy Uso suffered another DUI episode, and it's crazy. It's crazy having to hear things like this when it comes to superstars that we thought were up to that level, and things like this happen. They shouldn't. But hey, that's their lives. You can only hope, that they do the best for themselves. Nonetheless, this episode of SmackDown, if we go to just describing highlights, for example, we understood also that Bayley. I found out that on Thursday, the news of Bayley being injured broke out at that point, and that she would be out of action for 9 months. What happened was, obviously, she got injured. I forgot of specifically what, but during her training session, she got injured. She's going to be out for 9 months. So the match with her and Bianca Belair for Money in the Bank, obviously, was in jeopardy until Sonya Deville came out and decided to scrap that. And she would announce the opponent for Bianca Belair for this coming Friday on SmackDown in front of a live crowd on Fox. And it ends up being Carmella. Carmella becomes the number one contender for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. We got to see Liv Morgan come out yet again. And, of course, it led to her complaining about Carmella doesn't deserve the opportunity, and having to, say that to Sonya Deville. And Sonya Deville pretty much cut her off and told her not another word or otherwise. I was ready to say, at least in her own words, I was ready to say that there's only one spot left for the women's Money in the Bank, and it's yours. Because obviously Liv Morgan in the last number of weeks proved their point about who is deserving and who's not deserving. And we finally get to see Liv Morgan be a part of that women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Does she deserve it? In my opinion, she does. This has been a long time coming for her, and I want to see her progress and blossom as the next WWE superstar that needs to flourish in the company. Now, what is going to happen with Carmella and Bianca Belair? I believe Bianca could retain it. Excuse me. I believe Bianca could retain it, can retain it, and I believe she will retain it because that's what I believe the outcome was going to be when it was her against Bayley. But now that Money in the Bank championship matchup is scrapped and is going to be moved to SmackDown for this Friday in front of a live crowd in Texas, they're going to get the best seat in the house viewing this women's SmackDown championship match between Bayley and Bianca Belair. It is going to be a memorable one. That I know for sure. Also, what took place on SmackDown this past Friday, the WWE Women's Tag Team champions, they got to be in a match against two mystery opponents. So we finally got to see the NXT calling of Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Knox. They debuted as a tag team. Now, we know that Vince loves to shorten names because he thinks that short names is cool. So we got to see the debut of Shotzi and Knox. Okay. Big old question mark on the names, but nonetheless, their debut was pleasing. No disappointment, and to our surprise, they won their debut matchup over the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. What does that say? Kind of feel iffy not to say that Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Knox don't deserve it because they do. But what I'm kind of uncomfortable with is the fact that Tegan Knox just barely returned to NXT this past Tuesday. Her issue with Candice LeRae has not been settled. So it's like, okay, get her to move on and then move on to something. No, come on. I mean, you got to tie up the loose ends. That's what I believe. If you're in a storyline with somebody, you got to tie up the loose ends before you actually can move on. So I would like to see Tegan Knox go back to NXT and finish up her business with Candice LeRae. Give her a final match with some stipulation or something, and that way Tegan Knox can leave with a win or even with a loss, and that way she can move on to SmackDown and be a part of that team with Shotzi Blackheart. And a lot of people are wondering, well, how come Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon didn't move on together? Well, that's a big question mark about it. Maybe Ember Moon don't want to go back to SmackDown. She wants to stay at NXT. She has it cool right there. Based on her experience, that we don't know. All of that is, I'm just running speculation, but hopefully there's some news down along the line of why Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart did not move on up the main roster together. But yet it's cool that Shotzi and Knox debuted on SmackDown, got a win over the WWE Tag Team Champions, Natalya and Tamina. Also, we got to see Cesaro and Seth Rollins. These two have been fighting each other one-on-one already for weeks, for months. But this was involving the Money in the Bank qualifying match. So obviously, Rollins was in it all the way to win it and be a part of that match because Seth Rollins has the history of being a two-time Money in the Bank winner. He's cashed it in successfully and has been champion previously. So that's definitely one thing. So we're just going to shut all of this down by saying that the main highlight was what happened at the top of the show. What happened at the end of the show was just kind of repetitive from what happened last week and what happened at WrestleMania, where Edge takes off the middle standing steel piece of the chair and was ready to use it on Jey Uso, excuse me, at this point on any Uso, just so that they could feel the steel, having to be, like that. And, I can, just having to describe it and having the picture in my mind, I can already feel it myself. But nonetheless, let's go into the piece where we finally saw solidarity amongst the Samoan family of the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns and the Usos. The bloodline, the Samoan bloodline, that's what was going to be the original name, is back together. Let's listen in.
It wasn't for me. It was for us, just like you said, Oos. If I don't remember seeing you last week, Oos, you must have been on vacation. I showed up. First off, when did I tell you to do this for us? When did I tell you to make decisions for us? And second off, vacation. Vacation. If anybody earned a vacation, I earned the vacation, but I don't take vacations. I was busy doing what you couldn't do. I was busy doing your job too. Get that damn summer and look at that. Surprise, surprise, Jay Uso is back. Even through these hard times right now, keep your head up and let's get back to work. Doing what we do. And I mean, becoming the 7-time WWE Tag Team Champions. And I've been saying it all along. That's all I ever wanted. You choose what you want to hear. But I've been saying it. 7-time Tag Team Champions. Universal Champion for however long I want to be. And the way we do it is together. On the same page. All of us working together. Can't nobody touch us. Can't nobody touch us. If we do it my way. Oh my goodness. The family is solid once again. Back together once again. And this does not bode well for the SmackDown locker room, especially Rich.
And like we mentioned, of course, at the end of the show, Edge came out and pretty much laid out the groundwork and laid out the message that, hey, he's there for Roman Reigns, but he's mostly there to get back the championship that he never lost, and that was the Universal title. Even though this is going to be a first for Edge, if he does claim that championship as his own, but this is going to be his first Universal Championship run. But now, with the fact that the Samoan bloodline is back together, could this be curtains for Edge and anyone else in that SmackDown locker room?
It's a slight possibility it can be, because knowing full well that now Jimmy has finally joined the fold, and pretty much now we have the Samoan bloodline. Pretty much the strength and numbers are there for the head of the table, but pretty much that does not deter Edge's chances to regain the Universal Championship one-on-one against Roman Reigns next Sunday. But pretty much it's going to be a steep uphill battle for the Rated R superstar in his comeback, realizing that if he wants to get back the Universal Championship, he has to do so at the expense of the Usos just to get to Roman Reigns. Pretty much it's going to be we're expecting one hell of a title match next Sunday at Money in the Bank, but pretty much Edge's chances for him to get back the Universal title, expect the brick wall in his path.
Of course, Money in the Bank will be 1 week from this Sunday. Technically now we're already falling on a Monday. But yes, Money in the Bank is around the corner, and the Universal title will be on the line. The head of the table, Roman Reigns, will be defending that championship proudly, as the Rated R superstar Edge will get at the Tribal Chief one more time to get that Universal Championship. Money in the Bank will be next Sunday on Peacock and everywhere else, WWE Network. But before we close out this episode of Wrestling Weekend Recap, we want to recap some of the matches that you will get to see in these shows, beginning with tomorrow night's Monday Night Raw. We understand that Xavier Woods and Bobby Lashley, the Almighty Champion, will have their singles match officially this upcoming Monday. And for NXT, the main event, the NXT Championship, will be on the line with Samoa Joe as special guest referee. Johnny Gargano, who has been having the upper hand of playing mind games with the current champion, Karrion Kross. Will the final payoff take place this Tuesday on NXT, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on USA, and of course, AEW Dynamite. Instead of a regular Dynamite episode, this is going to be the Fyter Fest Night 1. We already went through the matches, but the championship match that it's already for us the talk of the town. The IWGP United States Championship will be defended as Jon Moxley will put it on the line against one member of the Elite who is no stranger to New Japan, but is obviously new to the presence of that United States Championship, and that is Machine Gun Carl Anderson. And we got to wonder what other members of the Elite or even Don Callis would be around to even think of interfering in that match for that. Carl Anderson could have the upper hand in that fight. Can't wait to see Fyter Fest this upcoming Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, only on TNT. Of course, we already witnessed Impact Wrestling and what they got going on Access TV. We understand one of the matches that will be on the card will be Jordynne Grace and Rachel Ellering will take on the team of Tenille Dashwood and Khalib with a K. Now, these four have been at each other's throats, especially when Tenille Dashwood has been poking fun and wanted to have a new tag team partner. Yeah, right. But she's been looking to divide the team of Rachel Ellering and Jordynne Grace even further. But having Jazz to come back into the fold, that only made their bondship even stronger. So now we're going to see if this really puts the solidarity into this team yet again, as they will have to defeat Tenille Dashwood and Khalib. That is going to happen this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, as well, but on Access TV. And finally, Friday Night SmackDown. We already talked about it. The SmackDown Women's Championship will be defended as Bianca Belair will take on her new number one contender, Carmella. Of course, unfortunately, Bayley suffered an injury. She will be out of action for 9 months. That matchup for the SmackDown Women's title at Money in the Bank, it is officially scrapped. It will be moved on to this Friday. This Friday on Fox. The SmackDown Women's title on the line will be Bianca Belair defending it against the new number one contender, Carmella. Don't forget, this Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, only on Fox. And that does it for us here. So hopefully we get to see all of you next Saturday for sure, as we will give the rundown of what can you expect to see, and also we will set our predictions on every match in the card for Money in the Bank. Can't believe that Money in the Bank is already coming up.
And Slammiversary.
And Slammiversary is coming up, but we are going to give our predictions and our what was the aftermath of the results for Slammiversary. And yes, speaking of Slammiversary, even though we don't have all the matches in our minds, but we know that the main event that really counts for us is the fact that the number one contender, Sami Callihan, will go against Mr. Buck Collector, who will be defending the Impact World Championship, Kenny Omega. And I believe Sami Callihan is a one determined man that at all costs, doesn't matter how, he is going to get that Impact World Championship back home to where it belongs, back to Impact Wrestling, back to the Impact locker room, back with people that have been the decision makers and running the show. Scott D'Amore, Tommy Dreamer, of course, saying that he's a representative and the to and from guy for Anthem Entertainment and whatnot. So Slammiversary is going to be interesting this year.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Who do you expect to win in that match for the Impact World Championship? Callihan or Omega?
Well, this sounds like a lark, but and not to underestimate Sami Callihan and his desire, but I think the Rat will once again emerge victorious. Kenny, I think, is most likely to retain.
You think Kenny's going to retain? Yeah. I would love to see Sami Callihan really be the one to take that belt away from Omega. But yeah, I believe as well that Kenny Omega is still going to retain that championship and get away with murder yet again. He is going to get away with murder yet again. The Elite will get involved. The Good Brothers are going to get involved. Don Callis is going to get involved. Don't ask me how, but it's deemed to happen. And we're just going to have to wait until Slammiversary until that prediction comes true. We don't know how they're going to get involved, but they're going to be seen. They're going to disrupt the match. And they're going to make sure that the Impact World Championship stays in the band pretty much on the side of the Elite by Mr. Buck Collector. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been it for us here for another episode of the Wrestling Weekend Recap for the one and only Jade. I am Ace Monex. We hope that we see you next Saturday, legitimately for another fresh episode so that we can give out the fall and the results of Slammiversary, plus what our predictions are for the full card of Sunday's Money in the Bank. Until then, we will see you next week. If you haven't been vaccinated, what are you waiting for? But if there's still no decision, play it safe, still mask up, and peace and love worldwide. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.